Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a little while since I've done my vlog. It's actually been quite a long time. I normally do like one video a week for my dev vlog for software development, but for my personal vlog here, it's just just been too much going on with our son born um, and lots of work going on, so it's been a long time coming. But in my previous video, I wanted to talk about the story of how I became a father, parent, and what was involved in that. And I thought that this is a good opportunity to kind of like share the background as to from from up to when I kind of had the idea of actually having kids and when it became a thing for me. I'm not sure about how many people, but a lot of people my age, at the age of 17, 18, that I knew of, there really wasn't any discussion about having kids at all. It was like, oh, we're too young, and it was very much a let's kind of meet people and hang out and make out, and it was kind of like a more of a game to see as a guy for me at the time. It was more of a game to see how many girls you can get, you could get laid. I mean, have as as a partner. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why that was a thing for us. It was more along the lines like, I mean, everybody that I remember from the guy's perspective was more about like, oh, did you make out with this girl, etc., etc., all this kind of stuff. It could have been the culture at the time. It could have been the messaging. My father was married at 33, so basically, I kind of saw this kind of world of, uh, you know, of here are girls, and here I am, just meeting them and having fun and making out and indulging, so to speak. That kind of like, it went a little bit sideways, a little bit. There was you only get so far if you only meet somebody for a short period of time, and at the time it was like, well, there was a sense of lack of satisfaction in those relationships, and you kind of felt, well, what am I missing here? And so I mean, the only role models I had for family with my were my parents, which was really good, for me. And their friends, most of them had kids and were married. So it wasn't like I didn't see that, but I didn't see that kind of role model. But why I didn't go for it at the time was like, I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be different. Uh, and it was, I had at the age of about 23, 24, I had some relationships. I had one significant one that kind of, nothing really happened with it. It was only about 23 when I met somebody, that could have potentially been a partner where we had kids. But the idea of having kids at the time, like, it wasn't really there. I mean, maybe there was something there, but it wasn't like, oh, that's what I want, right? So again, so I was in this relationship, we lived together, and we kind of went down this path, and it was most of the time, kind of like digging into satisfaction, like, mutual relationship satisfaction through physical contact, through physical means, and emotional, so to speak. But there wasn't really this kind of like idea of we have a path ahead to do something, right? We moved in together at the age of 24, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, there was never this like, oh, what's next? Have a family, right? So it was pretty silly because I kind of like, I was at 24, and if things felt off and I couldn't put my finger on it, and I ended up like looking for somebody else because I didn't really feel like I wanted to go further with this person, or I didn't see what the future was. Not because I didn't want to see the future, I just didn't. There wasn't, right. And I guess if in my mind there wasn't, and I am like scanning for other relationships. Well, what's the outcome, right? It ended up really painful for both of us. And you kind of look back and you go, well, why was that, right? Well, wasn't I ready? Was it because I had no one had mentioned that, hey, it's worth having kids, right? No one mentioned to me at the time that, oh, it's really rewarding. No one mentioned to me that, well, that I recall, no one really actually made it a thing for me to go and say, hey, that's something I'd like to do. So after that, I was like a bit of a mess. Try to figure out what career I wanted. I tried to meet other women through various different means. I went through the whole. pickup artist thing, which was silly. Like at the end of the day, it's like you can't you can't grow a tree by uh, what's a good analogy? You can't grow a tree by programming. No, by yeah. How do you say you can't grow a tree by putting one single root in the ground? I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I'm not sure about the analogy, but if you're in that whole pickup artist thing, it was like here's a script. Here are the things you do to kind of like intro, and then what next, right? It's like pickup artists go out and meet girls, and you might hook up, and then you go back and go on another date or something, and then it was even worse than before because not only did I not have anything like really in my head that like I wanted to do in a relationship later after we kind of hooked up, it was like the initial meeting was built on kind of like not who I was, but who had kind of planned around this kind of identity that's like not 2D, it's like 0.5D. And once you get past that identity, it's like, what can you do with it? And so I had to work on, I kind of realized pretty early on, thankfully, that you have to kind of work on your own identity and who you are to kind of attract the person that you want to be with. And I worked in the festival industry, and I met a lot of people. I was really work, business, business, business to about 33. And then I met another lady at 33. And this is where I actually started to think about, yes, I would like to have kids. And what actually triggered it, interestingly enough, was my sister. She had a son, I think about 21. So this is really interesting. My sister had a kid at a really young age, and here I am at 33 going, I don't have kids. And uh, I felt like at that point, something maybe unconsciously triggered in me saying, hey, my dad was 33 when he got married and then had me maybe about a year later. Here's my sister. Well, it would be interesting. I'd done so much stuff. I'd traveled, I'd done this, done that, met this person, met that person. I'm like, well, it would be really nice. Like, I think this is an experience I'd like to go through. What is it like? What will happen? What it was a curiosity, but that kind of developed over time. So I was in this relationship, and we were kind of like on and off. Um, it was a disaster. This relationship, all in all, was a complete disaster for me, emotionally, a complete disaster. I was a mess at the end of it, because um, the person that I was with had certain issues that I didn't know how to deal with, and I'd already, been in business relationships with people that, bullies or toxic or difficult to deal with, narcissistic. They don't really necessarily care about you, but it's a lot easier to kind of separate yourself in business than when you're in a emotionally attached relationship where you feel like you're somewhat able to help a person. But as time goes on, you realize that if this person isn't going to help themselves, or doesn't, I felt like I couldn't help them. Thankfully, we didn't have kids. And so this brings me to, I guess, at 33, 34, when I was with this partner, I thought, oh, I'd really like to have kids. But the problem was, is as time went on, over 2.5 years that we were together, from 33 to 36, 30, oh, 33, 34. So I was 34. Till the end of that relationship, when I was 37, where at the beginning it was like, this would be cool to have kids with this person, to slowly realizing that it is a bad idea, that, for us to have kids. And during that time, we went to the doctors a few times to see if my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, and she never was. And she, at one point, one thing that she did mention, which probably was helpful, was she said maybe it's to do with me because I haven't had kids. I've been in a lot of relationships, physical relationships, lots of sex, but no kids. Things can happen by accident. And it was that which later on triggered for me to go get checked. That's another story. But I guess my question is that, like, in our society, I'm not sure about you as a person watching this. I hope you are watching this. You've reached this point. You found this in insightful and interesting. maybe got something out of it. Why is it that we aren't really that keen to have kids at say 20, 21 when we are most able to physically, right? Biologically speaking. It makes most sense biologically speaking to have kids at that age between say I think 19 and 21. Not so much financially, um, but you know I didn't even think about it at that time, right? My sister, however, which is really weird because my sister probably had similar programming. I'd like to actually talk to her about this. Had similar programming, similar experiences, similar interactions to me. Maybe not the same because I went to uni, so maybe that had something to do with it. But maybe there's obviously she's a woman, and her partner. Obviously, they decided to have kids at that young age. Uh, so I'd love to know what your experience is at, say, around the 18 to 22 mark. If you're watching this at this point, please do write in the comments what your experience was, whether you wanted kids at that age, whether the opportunity arose, and I think based on everything that I've seen so far, our society has really um, gone the wrong way because we've prioritized as a system, as a social system, at some point, the idea that being able to produce something is more important than being able to have kids. By produce, I mean contribute to the economy. The problem with that is that you can become better at certain things at 30, 40. You can still learn, but at 30 and 40, having kids is not really as easy, especially for women. So after you get up to 35, the chance of, I think, certain chromosomal disorders increases, and the risk of any kind of like physical problems also increases, and the number of eggs also decrease, and the number of good eggs also decrease. In terms of probability, again, the best time is to have kids at 18 to 22. And having our daughter now, and I'm 45. But she's 45. My daughter is 4 years old soon, um, and so I'm 45, and I'm thinking, geez, the I still have energy, right? I know people that are 60 that have had kids recently. It's really wild. I met a few people that have had kids in their late 40s, first kid, and they're in their 50s, and they had a kid in their like mid 50s. But you know, what do you do at that point with your energy levels? When you're 20, you can run around and do stuff, but you kind of really have to have that incentive and that desire to want to have kids in your early 20s, because at the moment, the way it's kind of presented to you is like, well, have kids at your 20s, and then you're kind of missing out on all this stuff. Would I have missed out if I had had kids or wanted to have kids at 24? Would I have missed out on anything? Uh, yes, but would it be worth it? No. Looking at it now, if I'd met my wife now in my mid 20s, and we were, I guess, obviously we became who we are when we met, right? So it's a bit different when you're in your 20s and then you're in your 30s or 40s, and then you decide to have kids. You're more settled. You're more financially stable as well, which is interesting. Like how do we manage that as a society? How do we create financial stability for young families? So that they can send kids to school, so they can feed kids without being destitute or homeless. So that's a reality we have to face as a society. There's a lot of complexity around some fundamental social structures that we need to look at, because fertility rates are going down. Um, Whether that's just the natural progress of things as the human civilization organism blooms and then fades away. You can check out my other videos about uh, you know related to population decline. Maybe there's something to that. But I guess, guys, that's the first part. So, well, that is the history of me that got up to like say 33, 34, and triggered by my sister to go, oh, well, I actually wanted kids. And then later on in my 30s, I'm like, I really want to have kids. I've done all this stuff. I've done so much. I'm looking for a wife. Uh, that process of looking for a wife after my last relationship fell apart, I'll dig into that in the next video. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you got something really valuable out of this video. If you've got any questions, let me know. And please do put in a comment what your thoughts are about having kids between 18 and 22, whether you wanted to have them. If you did, what made you decide to have them? And if you didn't, why didn't you want to? Thanks. Catch ya.